We'll get started, normal protocol, talk about last week's game, and then get on to this week's game. It was a really nice setting to get back to Arizona and play. It brought back a lot of memories for me because we actually dressed in the locker room that used to be the home locker room when I was there. So a lot of memories coming out of that locker room, and it was a beautiful night in the desert. As I watched the game, just general synopsis of the game. As I watched the game and I watched our guys playing, I felt like our defense really came out early and played extremely well, and our offense had a chance. The 3rd and 1 that we didn't convert there after the turnover early in the ball game. I feel like if we get that conversion right there, we're probably going to take advantage, get a chance to go down and score. And I think if we strike first, a lot of things would change. And the reason I say that is because as I watched the game, I thought Arizona had a tremendous team. I thought they had a lot of talent, across the board, as we all know. I think they're very explosive offensively with a lot of different tools and weapons, but they also have a big athletic offensive line across the board. And then defensively, they developed a lot of depth, and after playing against them, their secondary was absolutely outstanding secondary. I mean, they had some tall corners that were really, really good for tall corners. They had a lot of length and covered our guys extremely well. And then their safety, number 9, we knew he was really physical going into the game. So my, analysis of what kind of talent they have on their team, they're very talented. And this goes back to, as I watched the game, I felt like the game kind of turned on us in a couple different situations, but all in all, I felt like our guys competed really well against them, and I feel like we matched up pretty good against them as well. If we take advantage and get a drive there, when we got the drive that we had to settle for the field goal, if we get that in the end zone, it's 7-7 late in the second quarter. So pivotal things was not converting the 3rd and short early in the game, first half synopsis, not finishing that drive when we got the ball down there, and got a chance to score and just settling for a field goal, and then them putting together that long drive late in the second quarter. And we always talk about trying to win the last 4 minutes of the half, and we didn't do that. But if we do, let's say we just break even, I think we're in a really good position. And then the next part of the game that was very pivotal is when we came out in the 3rd quarter and offensively had the 3 and out, and then we got the ball back again and went out, didn't get much of a drive sustained there and punted the ball again. And we just, and the first time Arizona got a field goal, the second time they got a touchdown. We just kept giving them too many chances to get the ball and to do things with all the weapons that they had. And so, we need to sustain our drives. And we talked about it in the radio show after the game. We moved the ball, but then we'd move it, until it got down to critical times, and then we didn't finish the drives with points. And so that's where we got to be more efficient in a game like that. Because for us to expect to hold, Arizona under, 20-some points, that's not a reliable or realistic goal for us to accomplish. And so I thought, all in all, there was a lot of positives from what I saw on how our guys, the main thing is how our guys matched up and how our guys competed. And when I say that, I had this happen. I talked about it after the game, again on the radio broadcast, but I talked about how the Pac-10 official came over in the 4th quarter, and he came over to me and he said, "Coach, your guys are playing so hard. It's really fun for me to watch a team play this hard." And I've been coaching 30-some years and never had an official take the timeout to come over and say that. And so, again, I like the way our guys battled. I liked a lot of the things. So there's a lot of positives, again, for us to garner from the game. Obviously, I sit back and go, gosh, a certain thing happens here or there, and we do things better in just certain situations, and it's probably a really well-contested football game. And so that's where the regret comes, is that we didn't go down there and get a win and take advantage of a situation. But the part of it is that, we still have a lot of guys that are playing high-quality football. We had a lot of players play extremely well, and we got to get better at the things that we all need to get better. We know we need to get better at, and that's finishing drives and getting more points on the board. So that's the synopsis of that game. Leading into this game, obviously we start off the season with with one of our first, 3 of our first 4 games being on the road. And by no means were any of them going to be easy tests for us. We knew everything that was, happening, or what became of the Jacksonville State trip and playing a team in their first opportunity to play at this level, and all the things that were set up for us there. And we let that one get away, and then our next 2 road games are against a Big Ten and a Pac-10 opponent. So with that being said, those are not situations where they're easy to come out and get wins. So what we have to do is fix the things that need to be get fixed. We're back at home, and now we're back into one more non-conference game against a Mountain West opponent now. So it's not like it's a difficult test again, because now we're playing a Mountain West non-conference game. So our non-conference opponents were 2 Big Ten, or 1 Big Ten and another Power 5, and then a Mountain West. So not easy task for us. But being back at home now, we feel like we've been tested very much this season. Now having a chance to get back here and play against a really good team. A team that started off their season doing some really positive things. UNLV's done some positive things. We know they're a very athletic, talented team because they compete well in the Mountain West Conference, and they have a very good schemes that they do on both offense and defense. So they're coached. They're coached very well. Got plenty of talent, got some, really good players across the board on both sides of the football. And, it will be a difficult task for us, of course, but looking forward to getting a little continuity, a couple home games in a row, and then, after this game, getting back into conference play. So as I told the team this morning, I don't think all the goals that were goals for us when the season started are all right there still in front of us, and now we got to get back on track and get some victories. So I'll open it up to questions from there.
What's kind of the scout report on UNLV?
Well, the scouting report on UNLV is, obviously they've had some success. They got ability to put points on the board offensively with what they're doing. Defensively, they're a difficult preparation just because of the different type of looks that they'll give you defensively, but more than anything, it's just their size and athleticism that they have on the defensive side of the football with what they do. I think they got 2 quarterbacks right now that they're playing. The backup, the starter got hurt last week. The backup came in. He did a really good job. So they got some depth at quarterback, and they got a receiver that caught 12 passes last week. Had really good production for him, but they got good talent at the receiver position. So their running back, they're deep in the running back position for sure. And then defensively, their secondary's they play a lot of guys on defense, Brett. So they're pretty loaded up. Across the board defensively. They'll play 8 to 10 D linemen, and they'll rotate their secondary guys around quite a bit. So talent, is definitely there for them, and they're a Mountain West team, so they'll be a big test for us that way.
How do you go about preparing for, I guess, whichever quarterback? They said earlier today that if the guy who got hurt is healthy, he'll play.
Right.
Obviously, the backup came in and played really well. So just how do you go about preparing?
Yeah, because they're different. They're different. The redshirt freshman throws the ball extremely well, but he can run it. They want to be able to run their quarterback. The other player, the other starter that's been there forever, he's had a lot of starts underneath his belt, and he's very athletic, and he can run and throw the ball too. So really, they've got the type of quarterbacks that they want in their system, and so both quarterbacks are similar preparations. It's just one has a little, one quarterback might do something a little bit better than the other, and vice versa. But together, you still, really for us, it's still the same type of game plan for both of the quarterbacks, because they're not going to change their package, because it's a new offensive package for them, and I think they like it and they feel comfortable with what they're doing.
Coach, right now, UTEP is ranked 125th in offense points per game out of all of FBS schools. Firstly, what do you think of that? And then secondly, how do you go about changing that?
My first address to that is that's obviously not what we want to be, but we're not ever going to be like the most prolific scoring offense, because we don't try to be. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to score one more than the other team scores, right? But you don't want to be where we are. We don't want to have the few amount of points that we got after 4 games is not what we need, right? Because if we were scored enough points, we'd be 4-0, right? And so that's the thing for me. I'm not as much concerned about where we stand nationally with points. We've always been, even when we've been a really good offense, it's been about our efficiency, and our efficiency on offense is not good enough right now. So we just need to continue to work on that and figure out how we can get better and improve on that part of it.
Just kind of off the back of that, you talk about being more efficient on offense, especially in the red zone. I think that's something we've kind of been hearing the last couple of weeks, that that's something you need to improve upon, and yet we're not seeing it on the field. Do you need to change something in the way you're approaching the offense? Do you still believe in the system that you're using right now?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I think more of it, Rachel, is just how we, the difficult tests that we've had to start the season. I think we've played 4 teams. Of the 4 teams that we played, they're all really good defensive football teams, and it'll get proven as we go throughout the year. They're all pretty good defensive teams. So we've been tested, and we're not going to change, what we do. We just got to get a lot better at what we do, just be more, execute at a higher level.
You talked about a little bit in your remarks during the Arizona game, but how do you judge the effort of your team? Do you see, the numbers down a little bit, or do you see the effort still?
Yeah, no, that's the thing that I was most proud of. Our guys went into that Arizona game and they played believing they could win, and that was the part that I wanted to make sure as a coach that they understood that even, they were a big underdog, that they really had a chance to win that game, and they played exactly that way. I mean, I didn't see them play like, oh my gosh, these guys are better than us and these guys should beat us. They played very aggressively and played good enough to win in a lot of segments of what we did. So that part of it really showed me what the character of this football team is. So I really like this team. I'm not going to let a little slow start let everybody get dramatic about a slow start. I mean, we got a lot more football to play, and we got a good football team, and it'll all be shown here in the future as we go through the season.
Just in terms of going off of what you just said on this, there's now 3 out of the next 4 at home.
Yeah.
Just this stretch for you guys, how important is it just in terms of who you will play and where you're going to play in the game?
It's huge, right? I mean, it's huge because every win, gets you back to where we want to get to, right? And every loss stretches it out, right? So now you get into where we started the season the way we are, and a couple wins gets us right back to where we wanted to be. A couple wins in a row gets us there, but if you get lost, then it gets you further away from it. So these next, as I look at it, being real transparent, as I look at the next 5 games are really important games for us because they get us to a point where, now we're after, 9 games, we got a good feel where we sit. So I've kind of grouped these, as I looked at the season and kind of grouped it, I had the first 4, which I knew were going to be really difficult tasks for us. Then we had the next 5, that's another group for us that'll really showcase where we are with our season. And then after that, you have the 3 games, which 2 of the 3 are at home again in that stretch.
Well, off the back of Colin's question, do you look at this game as a must-win for where you stand in the season right now?
I look at it, I don't think must-wins are ever a part of a coach's thoughts. Important wins are there, and it's important because you don't want to go 3 games below 500, right? You want to get back to where you're 1 weekend away from being back to 500. So that's what this game makes this game very pivotal, is probably the best word I can think of to use for it, because it's pivotal because it gets you back in striking distance and it gets you a really quality win over a Mountain West team. So there's a lot of positives that can be gained from gaining a win this weekend.
How would you rate Gavin's play in the game?
Yeah, because that's always a good question to ask the coach, right? Because he's the one that knows, how the quarterback played after evaluation. I think right now, Gav played, solid, and I think he knows he can play better, and I'm looking for him to play better. He didn't make any of the any crucial mistakes. To swing the game one way or the other. He didn't make those kind of mistakes. I thought, all in all, that their secondary did a really good job of covering up our receivers. I thought they did, that in this game they matched up really well against us for what Gavin had to do. He didn't have any turnovers, and it was a little bit more of a difficult task for him just because of the fact that their DBs matched up really well against our against our wide receivers in that game in particular. And I thought, and our receivers know that they should have played better, right? We haven't had very many drop passes all year, and we didn't execute the way we needed to do it at the wide receiver position. So that skewed Gavin's production, and what he did.
Injury-wise, Mike Franklin got hurt in the game.
Right.
Do you have status update again?
Right now I can't say. We're trying to get Marcus Bellin back. We're trying to get Marcus back. It was really nice having Kobe back in action. And right now there's not anybody for the game that's out for sure. We'll see how Mike recovers from that. He didn't get any head injury on that because that's what we were first worried about. So now it's day to day with him on whether he'll be back or not for the game. And same way with everybody. Injury-wise, there's not anybody that's out right now for the game that didn't play last weekend.
When you look at your struggles in the running game, was that just a matchup issue with Arizona that can be fixed against UNLV?
Yes, that was some of it. It was a little bit matchup issue. They did a good job of taking things away in the run game after I watched it on tape, And again, we need to run the ball, Brett, and that's what we need to be able to do. So we got to make sure that we stay patient with the run game at times because our offense executes the best when we're running the ball well. And so from watching it, there was just a little bit of a matchup and an execution again where we just need to execute our plays a little bit better against the looks because some of the runs were there at times, and we should have gone back to them and hit them again because they were close. They just didn't quite get the yardage that we wanted on them. But if you stay patient, stay in the groove, you're probably going to get more yards on those plays. After you keep running them more and more. So the answer to that is we got to be a little bit more patient with the run game, and it was a little bit. It was a good matchup from Arizona, but I'm not saying that we couldn't have run the ball against Arizona. We just didn't put enough. We didn't stay patient enough with it.
For you, what do you want to see out of the team this thing? Like, what are the keys that you need to see to kind of believe in this team that they can keep going this year?
Yeah, the keys for us is to get wins. You know what I mean? Just to win. That's all. Again, I'm that head coach where I'm not. I love 10-9 wins, and we don't usually have 40 to 39 wins, but just win football games right now. And the things I talked about, Rachel, that we got to improve on will allow us to win games. Again, we got to win turnover margins, right? That's the big thing. Again, we had one turnover that really gave the offense a chance to get momentum, and we didn't capitalize on it, which I think if we would have, it probably would have changed the whole landscape of the game. So we got to continue to do the things I talked about last week, which is win turnover margins, because we've yet to do that in a game to this point, and we got to be really good on third downs. That's another thing. So it's just the base execution of what we do has got to continue to improve. But I'm seeing so many pluses and positives from what our guys are doing, and we all got to just stay within the focus of what we're doing. I'm not ever going to push a panic button because we didn't come out 4-0 in the schedule that we were faced with to start this season. I'm just going to say here's what the things that we got to get better at doing.
Kind of jumping off that, Coach, UNLV averages 30 points a game. What does it take to drag a team that can score into the style of play that you want to? We hear obviously we're trying to get it into the mud, obviously, but what is that exactly?
Say that again. Let me make sure I'm not.
To drag a game into the mud, like you said.
Yeah, to keep the scoring down. We've been pretty good at that. That's kind of what we've done to win games. We've made people play to our style, which means we hold the ball for 34, 35 minutes a game. We win the turnover margin. We keep their offense off the field. That's the things that we do well. We're good on third down offensively because that keeps them off the field, right? Because it sustains drives, and then we're really good defensively on third downs. Those are the things that you shape when you run those style. When you run that, try to win games in that style. Those are the ways you try to shape games, and that's how you control it, right? And we try to make the game go to our strength, which is the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. We feel like, even against Arizona, we weren't outmatched. Illumin Kelly had his first start, so we were without one of our starters on the offensive line, and he played absolutely fantastic against Arizona. So we feel like we're deep and strong on both sides of the line, and we want to put the game into that type of play for us. That's our best way to win ball games.
Yeah, we've kind of done that in the first half of the last two games.
Right.
And things
Yes.
out of hand in the second half. Just what's the changing? Is it something that they're doing or something that
It's more us putting points on the board and getting offensively and moving the chains offensively, because I feel like in the second half of the game against Northwestern, the turnover, right, and, kind of broke our back a little bit right after they scored. And then I felt like the first couple drives in the second half of our game here kind of put our defense out there too many times and put them in tough situations. So I think, breaking that all down, it's just going back to some of the things that we all can see that we know we got to do better to help us to get the wins. It's pretty obvious right now what we got to do better to get wins.
So your confidence level on the offensive line is still the same as if we were just
Yeah.
beginning
I'm
the
not.
season, and you feel that based on the yardage that has been gained up to now and that line, that you still feel the potential's there to get better.
Yeah. I feel like if I had to critique the play of the offensive line, it's been really good through the first 4 ball games. I really feel good that Aluma started, and we've developed another guy that we feel like can start and play at a high level against a Power 5 opponent like that. So there's a lot of positives with that part of it, and so I'm happy with that. I'm happy with where our tight ends and fullbacks are playing too. I'm happy with Torrance has really come on to complement in the backfield. So there's some lot of positive things. Mike's been doing some good things. Mike Franklin's been helping Dion. So there's a lot of positive things to grow on right now. We just got to get into a groove, get some wins, and get rolling. But we're not going to get wins until we get this one this week. So let's go out and play really well and do a lot of positive things.
Just a play calling philosophy there. Your first drive, you had that 4th and 1, and pretty obviously we're trying to draw them offside.
Yeah.
What's the thinking between calling a timeout and punting from the 48 versus just taking the penalty and punting from the 43? Is that a first half, second half thing? Or
Why we did that, you mean?
why call the timeout instead of take the 5 yards?
Oh, yeah, because I felt like we were just far enough out that I didn't want to get Jacob any room to return it. Brett, that was a thought there, because we know how explosive, we've seen firsthand how explosive he could be, and I didn't want to extend the length of the punt to where Jacob had more, it stressed our coverage a little bit more there, And I wasn't ever thinking about going for it there because I felt I was a flashback from the Jacksonville game right there, exactly. You know what I mean? I'm like, and especially the way we were playing defensively early on the first drive, I'm like, this could be a dogfight, so I don't want to take any unnecessary chances right there. So that was the thoughts, because it's hard when you're at the 50, you want to go for it when you feel like you're moving the ball pretty, because we had a good drive going right there too. So it was tough that we came up. If it would have been half a yard, we might have gone for it, but it was a full yard on the spot. So I wasn't happy with the spot of the ball either, but that's part of it too. So, okay, is that it? Okay, thanks everybody, appreciate it.